minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right, you are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast network in the world, the Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. This is Krista with the Girls Who Love Reptiles. We're on episode 10. Really excited for this episode tonight. We have Ashley, who is local to me with A Chameleons, and we're going to be talking about chameleons. So I'm super excited just to learn about the species. We are 7 days a week now, so if you haven't already, to get tapped in, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever we go live. Bringing you episodes across various species, chondros. We have new breeder on the blog for ball pythons on Mondays, monitors, everything in between. So definitely like and subscribe to get tuned in to everything that's going on in the reptile world. We're also on all your favorite podcasting like Spotify networks. And also, if you want to get tapped into the Patreon, the Trap Talk Patreon, yep. I think the information for that should be in the description below to get tapped into the newest and upcoming and those who are pretty well known across various species to get kind of tapped in and start your networking. So I think that's super important. It's what's brought me where I am today. So if you're interested in that, reach out to me or MJ and know how you can be a part of the family. And with that, I'm going to say hi to you guys in the chat. It's been a very busy week for me. I do the show me shows, which are local to me. So I had one yesterday that was a couple hours away, and then I had one pretty local today. So they were a lot of fun meeting local people, getting the name out there, meeting other vendors, so and networking that way. So that was a lot of fun. Pretty wiped out too. So I'll try not to yawn super early. I'll say hi to you guys in the chat. So we got Mike. He's usually first. So thanks for tapping in. Phil with Constrictly Business. He's been really excited about this episode. So he kind of has been shouting it out. So I really appreciate him for that and the support. We got Exotic A1 Pets. Thanks for being here, guys. Got Shane from Above All Scales. Thanks for coming in. My Snake Edition from the V Unit. Thanks for coming on. We got Greg with AAA Reptiles. I believe he's getting a female chameleon. He just won, so congrats to him. I know he's super excited to get into that species and project. We got Amanda from PJ's Creations. Thanks for tapping in. 319 Reptiles. And then we got Dreadnought Pythons. Thanks for tapping in. He does a TikTok show with Phil, usually on Wednesdays. And I'll be on that in a few weeks. And we got MJ, I'm assuming, because it wasn't me making that message. Also saying, let's go. So I appreciate that. And then I'll shout out some sponsors here. So we got, of course, US ARC. If you haven't already, definitely go and become a member. Just recently renewed my membership. Super important. They, of course, fight for our rights and they'd be able to keep these animals and their strength in numbers. So definitely go on support. They need our support in order to do what they do. There's a lot of legislation trying to be passed that would make it more difficult for us to keep reptiles. And so they're our voice. So we need to support them as much as we can. So definitely go to US ARC and subscribe and become a member. Then we have Blake from Blake's Exotic Feeders with your quail. Tell him that you're from the Trap Fam, and he will get you right with the highest quality quail feeders that you can get in the industry. Super important that we're feeding our animals the right diet and a variety of diets, so definitely reach out to Blake. And then we have the chippers. So go to the cocodude.com for all of your bedding needs. I really like the Coco to go. It comes already kind of pre-made and moist, and you kind of just put it into the enclosure. It's really dust free. It's the only bedding I can really handle due to my allergies. So I really appreciate that. So yeah, they have a TrapFam24 code that you can use to get a percentage off your order. So go ahead and do that for all your bedding needs. And then we also have the Focus Cubed Habitats, making the most modern and clean-cut housing solutions in the game. They have a wide variety of enclosures for your reptiles that are kind of plug and play. Really nice looking, high quality, and meant to have you have success with your species. And with that, we will bring Miss Ashley on and get started. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing really well. You sound great. Everything worked out. I know you're a little bit nervous on the YouTube end. You're more on TikTok, but everything
Yeah.
seemed to go smoothly. Believe me, I've had some episodes in the past where it hasn't gone so smoothly. I've had issues logging in. So super excited this work. How's your weekend been going?
Pretty good. We got the chameleon room all cleaned up, so that's always a large task.
I can imagine. We'll definitely get into how many you keep. You're very active on TikTok, so when I'm on there, I watch you do your chores, and really enjoy that. So I will talk about that and how you kind of got into that. It's kind of interesting too. I think don't see a lot of people kind of doing that. I think it's interesting. Kind of puts. I'm kind of nervous. I'm just nervous of what people would say. So you're definitely putting yourself out there.
That's why I did it.
To have people see how you keep them. Do you
Yeah,
get
absolutely.
do you get any negative people on
Oh,
there?
absolutely. I get negative, yeah. But
Okay.
it would be for anybody. Even if it was with your animals, you would get the same person being negative.
Mhm. Mhm. What are
Just
some
what
things
they want to
they
do.
Yeah. What are some things they kind of bring up?
That chameleons would be better off outside and that I should just release them, and that, or the other one I had recently was that they should be free roaming in the room, that I should let them all go and just be together.
Okay. Okay, those people exist. It's fine to have an opinion, but I cannot imagine letting them go in Missouri would be a very smart idea. So they would
Cold
not.
winter.
Cold winter, yeah, for sure. I had a show today, and I had somebody that had a chameleon, and it escaped. They said it somehow got out the front door or something like that not too long ago. So they were really, really sad about that. I don't know how that works. I don't know if they had it like they said door, but maybe they meant window or something. I don't know if they had it out chilling and didn't watch it and it
Um,
escaped. I only looked at it and couldn't find it, but kind of feel bad for that. So yeah, we got a lot of people in the chat, super excited. So start off by just introducing yourself, your background, what you're doing, how you got here.
okay.
Go from there.
So my name's Ashley. My husband's name is TJ. That's why we have T and A chameleons. The business is more my thing. However, it really started off as his thing. When I met him in the beginning, he had a veiled chameleon. I'd never had reptiles. I was never interested in reptiles. As a matter of fact, I thought reptiles just meant snakes. That's how far out of the reptile community I was. We ended up getting married and had veiled chameleons throughout, our years together. And I got to where I really enjoyed them. And then we wanted to find a panther chameleon local to us because we don't necessarily prefer shipping, and we couldn't find one. So we searched and searched, and finally we found a panther chameleon that was over in Illinois, and we bought him. And we got to thinking, why are we not filling this gap that's in our area? Why are we not considering breeding these panther chameleons and making them available for Missouri and Illinois or Arkansas, because I'm close to there too, or Tennessee? Why are we not doing this? So we ended up reaching out to a breeder that was going out of business, and we purchased some of his females, and that's how we started the business. Of course, it escalated drastically.
As most of our collections do. And I don't know if I missed it. When was the date of this that this kind of started? We started getting
Um,
females.
so we started keeping chameleons together in 2016, but my husband has had chameleons since he was a child.
Okay.
So I think he started when he was 12.
Okay. Wow. That is super cool. Super cool
Yeah, he
pet.
actually had a Meller's chameleon, which you can't even get here anymore.
Huh, where are those from?
Tanzania.
Oh, wow. I've never never heard of those. Are
They're
they
huge. They're like Parsons. They're pretty big.
okay? Do they come in a lot of colors or
No, they're usually just green.
okay. Okay. I'll have to look those up when we're done for sure. So yeah, so are you from Missouri
Oh yeah.
originally?
Yep.
Okay. And where in Missouri are you at again?
Hour south of St. Louis, Farmington.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, you're pretty close. Pretty like I said, we talked before, but a little bit close to me, probably like a hour and a half,
Yeah, I
maybe.
think we're an hour and a half, 2 hours from each other.
Yeah, yeah. Yep. I just moved here in 2021 and started everything last year. So kind of getting used to the reptile kind of space here.
Yeah.
Have you and you haven't vended yet, but you've kind of gone to shows
No,
all
I
the
have vended.
Oh, good, okay.
I don't have anything to sell right now. I mean, I do now, but
Mhm, mhm.
every time I want to vend a show, like Bridgeton a couple weeks ago when I saw you there, they
Yeah.
weren't big enough.
Oh, okay. Okay. Gotcha, gotcha. So in the past, and how has that been like vending wise? Do people receive them pretty well? Interested in them? Is there a big, I don't know, say,
I
want for them?
feel like we usually draw in a big crowd because I mean you were at Bridgeton show, there's no chameleons there. So when you see these vibrant chameleons that are blue and red and yellow and orange, it usually draws in a pretty good crowd.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like I said, I did the two yesterday, and I don't think I saw any here. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'd imagine it would bring a lot of interest and importance on educating people on how to keep them. And I'm excited to kind of get into that tonight and how you breed and keep because I think they can be a little bit difficult maybe than some
Yeah.
other reptiles. We can kind of go into
Yes.
that. But how many do you have now? What species do you work with?
I have 96 right now.
Nice.
I
Wow.
have approximately 80 panthers. I have several veiled chameleons, some of which are rescues. I have 5 Jackson chameleons, and I have 3 carpet chameleons.
Okay. Okay, so definitely like the Panthers, and you like those. Is there like a reason why you have more? You just like them because they're more colorful, or their temperament, or what makes you gravitate towards those?
To me personally, they're easier to keep than, like, for instance, a Jackson's chameleon, because a Jackson's chameleon, they usually need a 10-degree drop at night to make them comfortable. A lot of people can't provide that in their household.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
sometimes they end up, getting a little stressed out and having issues. Panther chameleons are a little easier to keep and a little more docile than, say, a veiled chameleon. Veiled
Okay.
chameleons are typically, as my husband calls them, what choo-choo biters.
More temperament.
And the panthers tend to have a personality too. Like
Hmm.
my carpet chameleons don't really have a personality.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense too. Yeah, I'm always drawn by I like the really red ones and the green ones a lot too. But I feel like at least when I go to PetSmart, it's mostly like the veiled ones they
Yeah,
sell, or maybe
PetSmart
even
only gets veiled.
okay. Do you know why that is,
I do
or
not.
no?
I
Okay.
have no idea.
Okay. Maybe I was just curious. Maybe it's a size thing or
Yeah,
mm,
because their enclosures are tiny anyway.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So you got 90, around 9, and that's including babies too, or is that just like adults?
That's including the babies as well.
Okay.
I think I have 56 or 57 babies right now.
Okay. Okay. So majority of babies. And how much do they lay in a clutch and they go once a year? I know nothing about breeding wise.
Okay, so they usually lay somewhere between like 20 and 30 eggs per clutch. If the female has mated with a male, She'll do that like 30-ish days later, 30, 45 days later. And there will be the 20 to 30 eggs. But then a month and a half-ish later, she'll lay another clutch of eggs that's more than likely also fertile. And then again, she can do it again 3 months later. I have a third clutch from that group that's downstairs right now in a closet just waiting. So
Holy cow.
you can end up with like 60, 80 fertile eggs, maybe even more.
Oh my. Oh my. I'm just trying to imagine because like I do leopard geckos and I thought they had a lot, but not near as much as the chameleons. Okay.
Yeah.
We'll talk about breeding in a minute, but I want to go on like the general care of them. You can kind of tell maybe the differences between the species, but like generally how you keep them, your routine, husbandry, that type of thing.
Okay. So most of the species I keep, we'll go ahead and put carpet chameleons aside because they're a little different. But
Mhm.
most of the species I either keep in a 2x2x4 enclosure, which is the minimum size requirement, or a 36 by 18 by 36. That's also the minimum size, but that's an Exoterra. For us personally, when we put the cage together, we use the screen enclosures.
Mhm.
And we usually do the 3 sides as coroplast. That helps with keeping humidity in for them. Do you know what coroplast is? It's like a plastic material.
Okay. Do you just get that like from where do you even get that at?
Lowe's. It's like the material that you would have like a sign out in your yard. That
Oh,
type of material.
okay. Okay.
So then we don't really do bioactive as much as we should. We had a bad experience in the beginning. We didn't do enough research, tossed some isopods in, and they weren't dwarf isopods, so it was just a really expensive snack for the chameleons. So most of the time we go ahead and we put our potted plants in there.
Mhm.
And then we're working on doing all natural branches all throughout all the enclosures. Then we would hook up. We don't do a misting system. I hand mist all of them every single day, twice a day, 30 minutes before their lights come on, 30 minutes after the lights go off. Their lights are on for 12 hours. Of course, they've got to have UVB. We use typically Arcadia 6% because you can piggyback those lights off of one another. It makes it a little easier so you don't have tons of plugins everywhere. We have the fogging systems that run at night. They run from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the morning, and that helps with their hydration and the moisture. The room down there will get to 80 to 100% at night. And then when I go down in the morning, I'll kick over our heating cooling unit to dehumidify, and I'll drop it down to about 50% during the day. Currently, I have their basking lights off because, as you know, it's been pretty warm lately. But normally, like, they'll probably come on this week. The basking lights will be on their 60-watt incandescent bulb, and it'll give them a basking temperature of about 85.
Okay. Okay. And that is you kind of measure it like 12 inches below the basking light because I know that's kind of a big thing, right? On like
We
level.
usually do like 4 inches below the basking light, 4
4
inches to where it hits their back.
Okay, hits the back. So yeah,
Yeah.
that probably is close to maybe 12 inches from like the branch or whatever. Maybe not.
Do you remember me telling you about the cat?
Yes, it's in the room now. Yes.
One second. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. I had my open but my white one jumped on my desk, but he went away. So
I knew that was going to happen. I should have just left the door open.
it's okay. I couldn't hear anything if they were screaming. So yeah. So yeah, talk about the basking.
Yeah.
Or the length is about 4 inches UVB. The fogging system, like I know I've seen like the individual foggers, but how do you have an individual fogger for each like enclosure?
No. So we get the Reptifogger usually. I have different foggers we're trying out now. The Reptifogger has, and I don't remember what size it is, but we put a PVC hose on top of it. We run it up and we tee it off, and we can dump it into about 3 to 4 cages.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you have the one fogger going to several.
Yeah, I think we have 19 foggers down there, I think.
Okay. And those run like pretty well for you? Or have you had
Yeah,
issues
no,
with them?
we have good luck with them. We also use reverse osmosis water, so we don't have to worry about the buildup or anything being too bad in the Reptifogger.
Okay. Okay. And they're fun because I've also read or I guess heard that they need dripper systems too because they don't like sometimes with the misting they somehow don't get enough to drink when it mists. Like, have you seen that or do you?
Yeah, so they have, like, the big drippers that you can
Yes.
use from, like,
Mhm.
Petco. Also something that I recommend to people is getting, like, an ice cube from the freezer and just sticking it on top of the enclosure, and it'll drip down throughout the day.
Oh, that's smart. That is
Yeah.
smart too. Okay. Because yeah, at least what I've heard is they need a dripper sometimes, just because sometimes they don't get to the water fast enough when you're maybe misting or something like that.
Well, and the
So
fogging system helps with that too.
true, true. I think a lot of people maybe don't have that at night, at least that I've seen. Like they'll mist it, but they don't. It's important. My understanding is have the humidity go to that 80 or 100% at night, and then have it drop
Yeah.
in the day. It doesn't need to be high all the time. Um, and the screens too important. I've seen people keep them in the glass enclosures a lot, which is bad. I think for respiratory, or I'm assuming too.
You could use a hybrid enclosure, not a full glass, but a hybrid. I don't talk about it a whole lot because I'm afraid that somebody who's new to chameleons is going to jump in, grab a hybrid, and think everything's hunky dory, and it's not. You need to do a lot of research when you put it together, and you
Mhm.
need to monitor the humidity a lot and kind of get a feel for where it needs to be because you may need to add like a fan or something to it later on down the road to help with it. But
Okay.
I usually don't recommend that to first timers just because it can be a little tedious.
Okay. Okay. We're gonna kind of bring up like the Instagram. I was gonna kind of show kind of people like kind of like the setup and things like that a little bit, just to kind of put like a imagining instead of imagining it. And you can see, I think you can see your Instagram page, right?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I was kind of looking at it beforehand. So this is kind of video of okay. So here, oh, okay, there's that you're talking about that you kind of
Yeah. Yeah,
box
that
it in
helped.
there. Box it in there too. I see. Okay. Kind of link in there too. These are just kind of standard, looks like just kind of shelving units. Really, really neat layout. Really clean and bright for sure. And you have, I'm assuming that it's just like one per enclosure.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. At least to my knowledge, they're not like, you definitely don't want to keep them
Yeah, don't
here.
cohabitate them.
Yeah. I think that's all the video, but I'll show it one more time. Okay. Yeah. Super cool. Super awesome setup. Yeah. That's super nice. Huh. See if there's any other picture. Show some of the famous characters later on. But at least I wanted to show people kind of like the room and the setup part. And they could definitely go to TikTok and watch you work in there too to get a better.
Yeah, I'll be live tomorrow morning, so
Okay. Do you go live every day or?
I usually go Monday through Friday. I've been trying to stay off on the weekends to spend time with my husband and kids and stuff, so it just depends on what's going on. But usually Monday through Friday by 8 or 9 o'clock.
Okay. And you have like almost like 10,000 followers, right?
Yeah,
On
I
TikTok.
hit 10,000 followers a couple months ago or a month ago. I can't remember exactly when.
Okay. What was your kind of process in building up to that? Is it just because my understanding is in order to go live, you have to have so many followers.
So
So
that was difficult. So I always thought that my oldest son would help me with TikTok because I didn't know how to work it. He didn't know how to work it either, so he didn't help me with it. And
Mhm.
it took me, I want to say it took me probably 5 months to even get to 1,000 followers. Like I just kept consecutively posting videos and it just wasn't getting seen. Which I'm
Mhm.
not good at the hashtags and labels and all of that.
Me neither.
Um, So once I hit 1,000 followers, you have to do 3 lives. And once you do the 3 lives, they give you all the perks, I guess it is. My first live on there, I had 44,000 viewers and over 1,000 new followers just
Holy
in one
cow.
live. Yeah. So that's
Holy
really
cow.
what made it take off, was just doing lives like that.
Wow. Okay. And so in
Which I
order,
haven't had that
yeah,
many since then, but still.
still that's wild. And your first live was doing the chores in the morning, or was it something?
Um, so on the first of each month, I do take my chameleons out and weigh them.
Hmm.
And I was taking my chameleons out and just weighing them on live. And it was kind of cool for people because they got to see every single chameleon in the room. And I
Mhm.
think they enjoyed that, because whenever I'm doing my chores, you've seen, I don't really mess with them because I believe in them making the choice to want to come to me. Most
Mhm.
of them aren't going to make that choice.
Yeah, yeah. That's
They don't
most
want to
part.
be bothered.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So you're kind of building up to that. It's really just repetitive posting. Um
Yeah.
Here and there. Okay. Okay. That's what I've been trying to do. It's just I'm better at the Instagram than the TikTok. Probably because I just don't post as much on TikTok and it's kind of like I just need to. So
I think it helps to get in with the reptile community too. So there's
yeah.
limited chameleon people on TikTok, but there's
Mhm.
a ton of snake people on TikTok. So once they got to know me and they liked what they saw, they liked how I kept them and everything. I made pretty
Mhm.
good friends with all of them, and they all kind of name drop me here and there. And that's more people just come and follow based off
Yeah.
that. So if
Yeah.
you're trying to get more followers on there, I'd probably get in with the snake community.
Okay. Okay. We'll look to do that. I know Phil's pretty big on that. That's how he connected us
Right.
from Strictly Business. So he was great kind of making that connection. So I think I'll be on his, like I said, show in I think in October at some point. I need to double check
Nice.
the
I
date
didn't
again.
know
So,
about that.
yeah, that'll be fun. I forget the date, but I'll go back to our messages and see if I'm pretty sure it was October. Um, so yeah, checking if seeing if there's any questions in the chat before I kind of move on. If you guys have questions, please post them and I'll kind of bring them up and we can kind of answer and want you guys to get as much out of this as possible. But yeah, a lot of people in the chat. Okay. So kind of going with the husbandry part. Um and you kind of spoke a little bit about rescues. Just curious on hearing like what are some of the cases that you've seen, how you kind of work that. Do you adopt them out or do you keep them and not adopt them out? How does that kind of work?
I keep them. Their life's been hard enough. I don't want to try to put them in another situation
Mhm.
with somebody that may not know quite as much as I do. Right now, I have a piebald veiled chameleon. Her name's Journey. She is probably one of the most extreme cases of MBD I've seen in a live chameleon. I would never send her to somebody. Um, she'd just be a lot to take care of for somebody, and especially if she falls, she has special needs things in her enclosures to help her actually move around, because when she moves, she army crawls. She can't do like this like a normal chameleon can.
Yeah, yeah.
But that'd just be really difficult for somebody to try to take on.
Yeah, for sure. Mhm. Mhm. Definitely not a new keeper and would have to be specialized. Is that the most common like ailment you see with rescues?
Yes.
MBD? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I
Okay.
have another one downstairs that has MBD. It's not as severe and not as noticeable as hers, but I
Mhm.
did get him at a younger age. So as he grew, um, the new growth, of course, grew straight because he was getting what he needed.
Mhm.
When I got him, actually, he couldn't even keep his tongue in his mouth,
Oh,
and now he
wow.
can.
Okay. Okay. And that's just from obviously adding UVB light and like supplementation. Is there anything you
Yes.
do
Yep.
additionally to that, or is it literally just kind of dusting food with calcium?
That's what I did with him. I reached out to Beast Mode Silks. I don't know if you've ever heard of them. If you look at her logo, she has a chameleon with MBD in her logo. And she was the first person I reached out to because she actually had a chameleon with pretty severe MBD that became her slogan. I don't know the right word to say. So I reached out to her and she was like, just do what you normally do, get the right light on him. It was my boy at first. Get the right light on him, kind of adjust his enclosure, make accommodations. That way, if he were to fall, he doesn't get hurt or break a bone or anything like that. And she was a great resource to have. She stands behind silkworms helping them out, but I kind of stand behind, fixing the light and doing the calcium supplements and everything too.
Okay. Any other sort of medical things you've had to deal with your own? I don't know what the common things are. I don't know.
Mouth rot is, of course, one. We did a couple like at-home remedies for them. I had a veiled chameleon. This was going to be a my fault thing. We bought him, instead of using our incandescent bolts, we bought him a halogen bulb. And he got too close and he burnt his back. So we had to treat him for that. And by the way, for those of you in the chat, chameleons don't really feel a whole lot of pain. So if you have that bulb too hot and you don't check it, they can easily burn themselves and have no idea. We had a chameleon that we believe had a stroke.
Really?
Yeah, so he lost mobility in this hand, and then half of his face turned black and the other half stayed blue.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's fascinating.
You can't prove it unless you do, was that a necropsy?
Yeah, necropsy, and you'd have to probably harvest the brain or something, send it off.
Yeah, that's
pathology. Yeah, that's the only way I would think you would do stroke, because there are brain changes because of that, usually like neovascularization and all of that. So that's what I would probably see. But I mean, yeah, that's what I think. If you lost mobility in half the face,
it was weird.
Any other like cranial deficits, like in the face or anything like that? Like eye movement was normal and everything?
I believe so. He was a nosy bay and he had a very slight red undertone. So one eye turret was blue and red and the other one was black.
Okay.
It was weird. I can send you pictures whenever we get off here because I think you're interested.
Yes, I mean, from the medical background, I'm like, wow, I never even thought about stroke. Reptile. I see it in dogs and cats a little bit less, but
yeah, he actually passed away the day I met you.
Really?
Yeah, we came home from meeting you and he was gone.
Oh no. So sorry. When was the stroke up to that point? How long ago had it been?
May.
Yeah, okay. It's not really that long then, because we saw each other last month, I think. August?
Yeah. That seems right. Beginning of September.
Yeah, that was the one the last St. Louis show was. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, but I'm okay. Man, that stinks. Yeah, it wasn't that long ago. Huh. That stinks then. And how old was he?
7.
Oh, 7. That's
he was
old for a chameleon, right?
Okay, yeah, right. He was old.
Okay, because I only hear 3 to 5, correct?
5 to 7. I always say 5 to 7 with good husbandry.
Okay. We kind of went over that too, but I don't think we went into the diet. What'd you kind of plan with that?
So typically, because of the mount I have here, we typically use crickets. We've got black soldier fly larvae. We've of course got colonies of dubia that we breed ourselves. We do silkworms on occasion. We do hornworms as a treat. Superworms as a treat. Have to think back all the foods that we offer.
Yeah. Okay.
Of course, grasshoppers when you get a hold of them.
Okay, I didn't know they sold those here.
There's a guy in California.
Oh, guy.
He's the only one I know of, though.
Okay, so you kind of just ship them from there then, and
yeah,
and feed them directly, huh? Yeah, because like I've seen people in California feed them, to like their I think monitors and stuff. So so it sounds like a variety with the crickets. I feel like there's a lot of issues with like breeding those. What are your like
I don't
tips and
breed them.
tricks? Oh, you don't breed them, you just buy them and
Nope.
just throw them in there?
I have to buy them. I tried to breed them and I haven't been successful yet. I am trying again.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've been difficult.
That's why for the Leos, I mainly do mealworms. I will throw in crickets occasionally or like dubia from the store, but yeah, I love the mealworms. They're just so easy with gut loading and all of
Yeah.
that.
I don't know anything about mealworms. We don't use them. We were advised not to years ago because it can cause impaction in chameleons.
They do have a little bit of a stronger chitin. I think the superworms, it may be a little bit more with the superworms, the chitin part. So it may make sense that they couldn't or have issues digesting them if they're a
Yeah.
little more sensitive than other species. So and do you gut load the insects beforehand? Like how do you do or
Oh,
you just
yeah.
okay.
Every day. So this is a weird one. So I always chop up a salad for my iguana, and it may be green leaf, lettuce, it may be apple, it may have zucchini or squash, it may have peppers. You never know what it's going to have in it. I usually use that to gut load my bugs.
Okay. That's easy. Really quick and
Yeah.
easy. That's what I've heard people mainly doing is like scraps. I think when I tried to do it, it showed me how unhealthy I was eating because I was like, oh, I actually have to like buy vegetables for for the insects. I was like, I should be eating more vegetables to give my scraps, but I don't eat enough. So I started
Right.
having a little bit more. I should still eat more vegetables. I don't eat enough. So
You and me both.
I spoil like the rodents with them. So I'll do the hard-boiled eggs and I'll do lettuce and all of that. So yeah, I've been trying to get more back into it. I really like the spinach. Going off on a tangent here, but the spinach is probably my favorite vegetable to like cook and eat. Sometimes I'll just eat that for dinner.
Spinach is also one of my favorites.
Really?
I
Okay.
know.
Spinach. Yeah. I'm going off on another tangent here too, but I went to the store and sometimes I don't always look at the can of what I'm getting. Like I see general, like I see this, like it's spinach, and so I just grab a couple cans, but they don't always put them in the right place. So I brought home a bunch of like seasoned greens, I thought, and I was like, what
Mm.
is this? Instead of like the spinach, but I still cooked those and they were like super good too. So, but I need to pay a little bit more attention of the cans instead of just trusting them to put the right cans behind one
It's
another.
green leaf.
Yeah, it's pretty good, whatever it was. But yeah. So with the diet and husbandry a little bit, we went over that. I guess with the breeding part, like what's kind of your general like age that you do is, or like a weight you weigh at, or how do you determine your pairings? Kind of go into that.
We usually do it somewhere right around a year old. My pair, because we only do 1 or 2 pairs a year because there is so many babies. My pair
Mhm.
last year was actually an older chameleon. I think he was 5. Or I'm sorry, not last year. It would have been 2022. His babies hatched last year, but he would have been 4 at the time that he was paired with Peach. Peach was right at a year.
Okay.
But this year I did pair a younger couple. Derp was a year old and Pandora was 10 months old. Because they're usually sexually mature somewhere between 8 and 10 months.
Okay. So it's more of an age thing than when you're kind of, and I guess
Yeah.
condition, you know.
And with the females, you can kind of tell based off color. They usually give you like this vibrant color, whether it be like a bright pink and purple or a salmon. You can just tell by color.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And then for that, is there like a time of year that you start pairing them? Like what's the pairing process like with them?
So I don't necessarily have like a schedule.
Mhm.
Just whenever I realize that we're probably not going to have babies anytime soon, I decide to pair somebody.
Okay. Okay.
It's probably not a great answer.
No, I just didn't know if they were like seasonal or sounds like you
Oh,
can kind of
no.
do it all year round if you really wanted to then.
Depending on if they wanted to, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that a big thing with them? Like I know the lychees, there's kind of an issue sometimes with the pairing. Is that how do you put like the female with the male or you put the male with the female?
I usually walk up with the female and I usually see if she turns dark and gapes at him. If she does, I'll just take her back to her enclosure because she's not interested. Or if he blows up his body and gapes at her, then, I take her away and put her back in her enclosure. I'm not going to stress them out over, something like that.
Okay. So you kind of just keep trying until they're both kind of receptive to each other.
Sometimes they're never receptive. I have one that we've always wanted him to breed and he refuses.
Oh, wow. Well, we get that with the ball pythons sometimes too. Or
Really? I didn't know that.
yeah, I think it's not super common, but there will be sometimes the male just like doesn't want to breed, or like he bred great and then you get him and then he just doesn't want to like do anything. Or sometimes he doesn't want to go with the one female. He'll go with any other female except for like a specific one you want him to go to. We try tricks and things like that, but I've heard of rare cases that happens. So just kind of, and we're, you do what you can, but you kind of gotta, it's nature. So
Right.
so, and then I guess if they are receptive and you pair them, do you like they lock? Like how are you kind of like let them, are they in together overnight or like how does that?
No, I'm super awkward about it and I hang out until they're done doing their business and I take them away from each other.
Okay. I'm assuming they could be aggressive too, like fight or.
They can be. I recently saw somebody that was pretty big in the chameleon world. She tried to pair her chameleons and apparently her male broke her female's jaw.
Oh wow. I think I might was that on another podcast?
It
No, the
might have
wild.
been, yeah.
I think I heard like the wild type podcast.
Yep, that's her.
girl. Yeah, one of them. Yeah, but they said it was like like they can injure each other, but that was like a freak like kind of accident. Like that's not.
I'm
super
sure it was. I have not listened to it. I just saw what happened and I was like astounded. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I can't even believe that would happen."
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I mean, they can be aggressive.
Yeah, and they're pretty. Pretty decent sized animals. So, relative to each other, I feel like so. And so after like pairing, how long until she like lays essentially at that point?
It's like 30-ish days, 45, something like that. And we've got little lay bins set up in their enclosures, and it would be 50% place sand, 50% Repta soil, and we soak it really good. That way they can tunnel through it. The reason you want to soak it really good is so that the tunnel doesn't collapse on her while she's digging.
Hmm.
And then she'll lay the eggs, cover it up, and as soon as I feel that it's safe to go in there, like I'm not interfering with her anymore, I'll go in and I'll take the eggs out. And I'm sure you want to know how to incubate them. I just stick them in a closet here in this room.
Okay, so just like like in the 70s room temp.
Yeah. Yep.
And yep, go ahead.
It takes like 200 to 240 days for them.
Oh my gosh. How many I can't do my math, but how many months is that? Like 6 months?
It's like 9.
Holy cow. So it's like a human basically.
Yeah, like 8, 9 months.
Holy cow, that is a very, very long time. I don't know if I missed it, but when you incubate them, are they on a specific substrate too? Or
Yeah, we use Pangea Hatch, which is like you may have used it before. It's like a clay rock kind of, and you soak it. Some people use vermiculite. I don't like vermiculite a whole lot because it kind of clings to the animal whenever they hatch, so it's just not my favorite.
For sure. Yeah, that's what we usually do for the ball pythons, but I would just rinse them off. That's super easy. It's probably I'm sure you can't do that with little tea tiny.
I mean, I'd rather not.
Yeah. So we just bathe them. But yeah, if you had to avoid that, then you could do the clay part of it. But what is like this would be the hardest part, establishing the babies, right?
establishing the babies.
Yeah, like once they hatch, what do you kind of like feed them or how do
So
you house them? You know.
once they hatch, we have nano breeze enclosures. They're a 10 by 10 by 12, I believe is the size. I've usually already got them already and set up to go. They have 2-3 live plants in it because we always do live plants. And then we've got several natural branches for them. Whenever we rack them, we put the UVB up above the enclosures. I believe there's 6% on those. I have to check sometimes because we have some that are 5 and some that are 6. With these particular ones, we did have to actually use our UVB meter, and we found out the UVB was too high, so we did have to do a double layer over the enclosure so they didn't get as much UVB.
Okay.
But I mean, so far we've done really good with the individually raised method. Our success rate with them right now is, I think, 96.9%. So there's just really something to be said about keeping them apart from each other because there are some people that put them in like bins and bin raise them.
Okay, so you kind of individually house them. What about like the temperature part? Like how warm or like that? Like how do you? I'm assuming they're so sensitive, but
Yeah, so you don't use like a basking light on the babies because they
okay.
don't regulate very well. The room's usually somewhere between 72 and 75 down there. And when I do, use the heat gun to check it, it's usually about 75 in their enclosure. It's not too bad. They
Okay.
can deal with that.
Okay. And then kind of just spraying and misting a couple times a day
Yes.
too. And
Yep.
with the fogger too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. You got that. And what about like diet wise?
Diet-wise, we stick to high DI whenever they first hatch. The high DI fruit flies. Sorry, I should have said fruit flies.
Yeah. No, there's
Um,
two. I know of the Melagastro and the Hardy
yeah.
Eye. Okay.
So the Melagaster, they're smaller. I prefer the high DI because it gives them a little more substance. And then I will usually go to 1/8-inch crickets. I usually skip the pinhead section because the pinheads can get right out of the enclosure and they never even see them. So I usually do 1/8-inch, and it's not long before I'm skipping up to 1/4-inch. And then they like I fed them black soldier fly larvae earlier today. Most of them like that. I shouldn't say all, but most of them like that.
Okay. Okay. And how is it like kind of daily feeding that you kind of
Oh
rotate in
yeah,
between
absolutely.
every single day? Okay.
Yep.
And
Usually 20 or 30 feeders of some kind.
okay, that was gonna be kind of my next. I know with the fruit flies, it's like hard, but you can just kind of eyeball it and then just kind of
Yeah.
dust
Yeah,
it and
probably 20 or 30 of the feeders. 20 is probably fruit flies because I even give them fruit flies when they're a little older just for additional food in case they're still hungry, you know? They're probably
mm-hmm,
not eating them, but I still give it to them anyway.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And then they kind of move on to like the crickets mostly with other feeders like around
Yeah.
3 months, you would say?
Um, Probably about a month. It just kind of depends on the size.
Okay. Okay. And then we kind of talked backstage a little bit, but you just kind of feel okay selling them or moving them into homes when they're around 3 months.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
3 months or 12 grams right in there.
Okay.
I
Okay.
usually wait till 12 grams because there's some that at 3 months may not weigh that. So, but then there's some that are 3 months and they weigh 25 grams. You just never know what you're going to get.
Yeah, I see that with the leopard geckos too. I usually don't sell them until they're like 15 grams, which is they can hit that in like a month or month, 6 weeks maybe. But yeah, some do take a little bit longer, 2 months or so. So yeah, probably individual, a little bit genetic space with how fast they grow. So and with some at 3 months, like when do their colors come in? Like how do you know which ones are gonna hold back versus selling them type of thing?
So their colors usually start to show at about 3 months.
Other ones.
Hold back is hard because you don't know what colors they're going to have. Some people that are way better than I am can just tell right
Mm,
off the bat. But the one I actually held back from last year was definitely not my front runner at 3 months.
yeah.
So it's hard.
Yeah, because you probably would have to hold them for like a year, I'm guessing, to kind of get a stance on what they're really going to be.
I think when he was about 5 or 6 months old, I told my husband he wasn't going anywhere because he just
Okay.
had the prettiest yellows and prettiest oranges, and none
Mhm.
of his siblings had that. I was like, "So I'm keeping him."
Yeah. Okay. That can help. Still a decent amount of time. Um, though I think for the leopard geckos, I would say, yeah, it's probably 5, 6, 7 months before they kind of show their true colors. And I still even have some that still have like they usually have bands, like lighter bands, and those will kind of go away as they get older. But the kind of color that's before and after the band kind of shows what they're gonna turn into. So I can kind of go off that color. Um, this is me mainly going off of I do the tangerines or like the solid orange color, so that kind of
Yeah.
gauges that kind of rich
I'll have
red.
to pick your brain about leopard geckos one day just because I don't understand them.
Oh, just like from the genetic standpoint or
Um,
from
I actually don't understand the care of them because there's so many people that are like, "Oh, you don't need UVB for a leopard gecko," and so many people that say you do need UVB.
yeah. Yeah. I would say the general stance is that it's not required, but they can benefit from it. But like I keep mine and a lot of breeders do like a rack system with no UVB. It's usually just like belly heat.
Mm,
And then that kind of creates like the gradient you need. And then I have humid hides in all of them too, where they can go in and shed, and that's where they also lay their eggs and dig too. Um, and then yeah, just kind of go off the size of the tub based on the age. So the adults are obviously in bigger ones, the males are in the biggest size, and go from there. But yeah, there's a lot of like out there on UVB or not, but yeah, because they're more of like a crepuscular or kind of they come out at night or at dusk, they don't require it. But it and
I mean,
that's
it
and
makes sense.
yeah, I mean, and I've never had any issues with MBD or anything like that. It's usually when I see it is because they're not being supplemented appropriately. Like if they're not getting UVB, you have to give them the calcium with the vitamin D3.
Yeah,
Um, and so when I see the cases of MBD, it's because people gave it like with no vitamin D. They just gave the calcium because there's two different kinds.
right.
So they give the wrong one, and that's when I typically see it. Um,
Yeah. So,
so
like with ours, we do the calcium without D3. My chameleons, sorry, I should specify. My chameleons, we do calcium without D3. And then once a month, we do a multivitamin A.
okay. Okay. Yep, that's about
Did I say
yeah.
twice a month? Sorry.
You said once, but I have heard
I meant
twice.
twice.
Okay, yeah, that's what I've heard is like the beginning of the month, and like people
Sorry.
do it the 15th. No, no, it's okay. It happens with all the supplements. But yeah, the
I
and
don't want to
it
give out wrong information.
it's okay. And you do like the Reptivite or which multivitamin do you do?
We use the Arcadia.
Okay. I don't think I've seen that one in your case.
Arcadia Earth Pro A is the one we use.
Okay. I'll have to look into that because I do also the same with the leopard because I do give them vitamin A.
Mhm.
Um, one same kind of schedule, like once or sorry, yeah, twice a month. So yeah, I know it messes me up too. Because like for the chameleons, if they don't have the vitamin A, they can get like what do they get from the eye issues?
Yeah, they
Or
can have eye
yeah,
issues from that, and they can kinda have I think I've read before that they can have issues with their skin. Don't quote me on that, I've never had a whole lot of these issues, so I don't
yeah,
exactly know what it does. I just know that I need to do it and make sure that they don't have issues.
yeah. I've heard of like the tongue, like their tongue either can't go out and get the food, or that's what when I do consulting, that's what I've had most people complain about is the tongue part of it. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah,
do have one that came to me with an injured tongue. We don't know what the injury was, but he cannot shoot his tongue.
okay. Wonder if maybe he had yeah injury or some sort. I feel like if it was nutrient deficient, once he got the normal stuff, it would return. But I don't know enough
I
about
couldn't tell
it.
you when he came to us, he was that way. We retrofit a little feeding bowl for him. He climbs on the edge and then he just shoves his head down and gets them.
Okay, hey, whatever works.
He eats, so
Yeah, yeah. I actually had a while ago. I had a panther. Um, Probably a couple years ago, I would say. And yeah, I always had great enjoyment of him kind of going after their bugs. I had like a separation, so I had to sell a lot of my reptiles during that time, but I really, really enjoyed it. I found it to be quite I don't say easy to care for, but like once you have like the temps dialed in and stuff, it's kind of just like plug and play from there.
Yeah, people ask me all the time if they're hard, and I always say yeah. But in all actuality, if you have it set up properly, it can be easy, but it takes a lot to get it set up the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to be really regimented about giving them the right calcium or the right vitamin A when they need it. You just need to be, people want to go on vacations for a week and they'll send me messages and they'll be like, hey, will my chameleon be fine for a week? And it's like, no, it won't. People just have to know that they need us or they need somebody.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it's kind of weird. You'd be surprised. But that's like a huge thing for people. Like that they for some reason they just find it difficult. Like if they can't they find like it's a more difficult species if they can't go on vacation without somebody, watching it. But I'm like, it's the same with a dog or a cat, right? Like you'd have to have, I guess cat you can maybe like have free feeding, but that's like when I talk to people about the leopard geckos, you can leave them for as long as they have enough food and water, they're like good. And you miss the human hide really good. They're good for several days. So people are like, oh wow, that's like, I don't know, they really love that. So it's kind of like I don't know if you've seen that, but a little bit of a turn off for people.
Yeah. No, I have. I just talked somebody out of a chameleon. They came to my house and everything, and I was like, do you vacation a lot? And they're like, yeah. I was like, this isn't good for you unless you have someone to take care of them. And she's like, no, my mom doesn't like bugs. I'm like,
yep, that's another big thing I see too is people are either for the bugs or not, and that's why they choose like a crested or something like that. So it's cool that we have species that fits everybody sort of.
Yeah. Hey, I get the bug thing. I mean, crickets were about the only thing I could touch whenever we started. I can touch just about everything now except for dubia roaches. They creep me out so bad.
They're just, I grew those up too and had like a little bit of a colony. They're just kind of weird and nasty looking. Not like your normal cockroach, but they just kind of have that vibe. And so it's just kind of like, and mine would always get out. Usually when I had somebody come over and like take care of stuff, they left the top off of it or it wasn't latched on all the way. And then I always come home and like find them dead here because they can't live outside the
right.
But I would just find them dead or find one crawling. I'm just like, oh, come on, man. but yeah, just checking the chat, see if there's any other questions. What are like some things you see? Talk about a little bit like with the babies. What are some things that people do like maybe incorrectly or kind of errors you've seen a lot of people doing
for babies?
Yeah, well, I would say babies, and you can talk about adults too. Yeah, I think it's interesting.
I've had some people, well, you and I talked a little bit earlier about people buying eggs and buying chameleons that were too small. So I've had a lot of pictures and videos sent to me where they hatched the egg and then they put it in one of those plastic shoe boxes and just poked holes in the top. And then it's not really an ideal situation because they're putting fake plants in there as well. And it's just nothing like their natural environment. It's probably going to get too humid in that space. And it's probably, I would think, cause a respiratory infection. Mm-hmm. That would be what I would assume would happen in that situation. I can't 100% say that, but that particular person that did that, they did end up losing that chameleon. I don't know why they lost the chameleon. I don't know if it was a respiratory infection or something else. What was the other one? They put it in one of those plastic spider enclosures.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was another one. I mean, but this is part of the perks of doing the TikTok, because if I think that somebody's doing something a little sketchy, I just say, hey, message me on Facebook or Instagram. That way I don't call them out in the chat. Yeah. And then we can privately chat, and it doesn't sound like I'm ridiculing or, being rude to them. and we can maybe figure it out and work it out and get their animal in the right enclosure, in the right situation with the right lights. That was the other thing with the shoebox guy. He didn't have UVB light on him. So, but again, I go back to TikTok. Every time I get off live, I at least have 2 or 3 people reaching out for care guides. And probably every other time I have somebody sending me pictures of their enclosure wanting to know if it's okay or if their light's okay. So that is the great part about TikTok. Because on Instagram, I don't have a good enough following to be doing it like that.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a great educational too. And I feel bad because we see them are like, why are you like doing this? But if you walk in a PetSmart and how they're kept, you can understand why people keep them like that.
Absolutely.
Because, and the care guy, it really gets under my skin and I get really frustrated. But even their care guides are not good. And so like from a logical standpoint, you can be like, okay, these animals are here temporarily. I get that this is not the setup they should really kind of be in, but then you get the care guy, that's no help either.
Well, and then the advertising on top of it. We don't have a PetSmart here. I've been in a few of them, but the one PetSmart I was in, they had I want to say it was an octagon glass enclosure, and right on the front of the box is this Panther chameleon. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's not good enough.
Yeah, well, you see that with these reptile companies, though, like the big names and big ones where they have the enclosures and they post like the wrong species on the box. So people, I get that all in the consults. Like you see it with the bedding. I think the bedding, like the bearded, is like the huge thing in the sand. They're like, well, it had a bearded like on the bag, and like you feel bad telling these people like, unfortunately, that's like not the case. I don't understand like why companies are selling products that are not for the animals' health.
Well, and I said earlier, the minimum size requirement for enclosures is a 2x2x4. But what they're selling at the stores, like my local Petco, is they're selling a chameleon kit that has the wrong UVB bulb, and then they're selling it with an enclosure that's a 16x16x30. So nothing about it's actually right. It has the wrong heat. Wait, the heat lamp might work. I can't remember, but it has fake plants, and I believe it has like a one of those fake substrate pieces of cloth that you put down in the bottom, and it's like, don't do that. Don't sell that to people. And they're almost $200. You can get the right size enclosure for $100.
Yeah, I think for mine, I got the Reptibreeze, and I think I found it off Facebook Marketplace. Like somebody was just selling it. It was in great condition. It already had like the little ledges, the really nice ones that kind of screw into the sides. I don't remember the exact name for them, but it already came kind of like pre-made. So I just kind of cleaned it out really well. But you can score some deals looking for that, and enclosures in general too.
Yeah. The only thing I would suggest, and I'm sure you would too as a vet tech, is to sanitize and clean it really well.
Yeah. I usually do like chlorhexidine. I don't know. How do you sanitize your enclosures?
I usually use like Dawn dish soap and water and scrub it really good, and then I go back then later with F10.
Okay, that's another good one too. Yeah, as long as you just let it kind of dry it out, obviously. Before
I usually wash it, let it dry, spray it, let it dry, and I spray it again because I'm so worried that my animals will get something.
Yeah. And how often do you clean out the enclosures? You would think, is there like a time or?
Probably every 7 to 10 days. I spot clean here or there if there's a big poop on a leaf, I'm gonna clean it off. But like today, we literally went through the whole room and actually pulled everything out and put everything back in after we cleaned it.
That's a great routine. Yeah, it looks like we showed the video. Super.
That's an old video too.
Oh, it's old video? I didn't even see it. When was it posted?
I don't know, but my room doesn't even look like that anymore.
Oh, really? I feel like okay.
It does a little bit, but there's 2 other aisles going across the room now.
Oh, okay. I was like, I've seen the chore part, and at least the cages look similar. But no, you're saying like the actual like layout is different. But.
Yeah, there's probably another 60 enclosures in there because they're baby enclosures.
Okay. I'll have to tap in live and see those too. And with the plants, what kind of plants do you recommend for them?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. I can only so I'm bad at plants. Let me start there. I'm really bad at plants. They're
I'm
not
not
my
good at
thing.
I'm not good at them. I kill them. So.
It has been a long process to figure out what I can maintain myself. You can use all kinds of plants. If you have a green thumb, you can use a money tree. I don't have a green thumb, so sometimes they live, sometimes they don't. Schefflera trees are great because it actually gives them something to crawl on to like actually, have a form of enrichment, actually bounce around the cage. But they're also great because you can spray the leaves and then the water pools on those leaves and they can drink that. Now, what I can truly keep alive is what's called a Dracaena. And it's really a pointless plant as far as crawling, but it gives them coverage. So it's something they can hide behind. Pothos are pretty easy to keep alive. Me being the not plant person I am, I actually have a Benjamin ficus tree downstairs that I actually cut pieces off and can propagate. And those are great trees. After they grow for a while, they have a pretty reasonable sized trunk to where the chameleons can grab a hold and climb up them. But that's a few. I would actually have to look at a list to get you a whole bunch more, but that's some of the ones I like. Snake plants is another. Some of the majesty palms, cat palms, you can use those. Again, those are more a coverage thing, not so much something that's easy for them to climb on.
Okay. So really coverage, and then DFW arboreals. Always loving the Schefflera. So.
Ooh, last one, rubber tree. I can keep those alive.
A rubber tree?
Yeah. They also call them a ficus burgundy.
Okay. I'll have to look that up. It sounds like an interesting name. Is it like a burgundy color or?
It's got a reddish undertone to it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm terrible with plants. I've tried so
Same.
much. I don't know. I mean, you'd think they're easier than the animals, but they are not for me. I don't know if I just like forget to water it or I don't know. They can be complicated, I feel like, more than
Yeah. No, they're not fun.
one would think.
It's not my thing.
And so going forward, are you kind of wanting to like expand more or like is it because this is more of a side is this like it's a side business, correct? Or is this full time?
It was supposed to be a side business. It's pretty full time.
Okay, full time kind of now. Okay. And going forward, are you wanting to add more numbers or more species or focus on? Okay.
No, I would love to thin down the herd a little bit. We have some elderly chameleons. They've been starting to pass away because they're all between the 5 and 7 year range. So as they go, I'm hoping that we resist all urges and don't replace them. We did start the carpet chameleon breeding project this year. Those numbers are probably going to be limited. I think I just need to stick with one breed and keep it easy. Just trying to venture out and do all kinds of different things. It's a lot, and each chameleon's has different needs. So trying to meet all those different needs can be a pain, and I just want to stick with one.
Yeah, that would make it easier for sure. For all the needs, is there like a standard website or something that's pretty safe for people to go to?
Absolutely. ChameleonAcademy.com.
That's who I used, or that's what when I get the consults from people, I send them those links for those species.
Absolutely. He's the
fantastic.
I always talk about people going to Facebook groups, and there's always an expert in the group, and they always know everything, and they really don't know anything. And it's like, just send people to Bill. Just send people to Bill. I actually got into it with somebody on Facebook because I was like, they should go to Chameleon Academy. And they were like, we don't do that here. I'm like, why not? He knows everything there is to know about chameleons.
Yeah.
Anyways, I got booted out of that group.
Really?
I did.
What the heck? Facebook groups they're something else. I'm not really active on. I do Facebook mainly just for myself, like in friends and family, but I'm not I'm a part of, I think, general groups because I like seeing people post like morphs and stuff, but I'm not so much in the husbandry or like the pet keeper stuff because it's a lot of
Yep.
like in the leopard gecko, it's very, I would say, similar. There's people that a lot of people don't like, and so if you buy an animal from that person, you get booted or you get hounded, even if you like
Yep.
didn't know this was like. And not, I don't want to say we talk about ethical and unethical like breeder or something, but no, I kind of stay out of the Facebook for sure because I kind of ran into that in the beginning, and I was just like, nah, I'm good. Just surround
Yeah, I've
yourself.
actually started deleting groups. I'm like, I don't even want to be a part of this anymore.
Yeah, it's too much stress, and you can like be kind with people and like tell them, but yeah, one it gets like nasty like real quick. I think
Mhm.
people, I don't know why. I think people are just not wanting to hear others' opinions or sides. They just want to be think their way is the right way, which we talked about
Right.
before. There's multiple ways to do this and still do it right. I mean, do it
Yeah.
well. Animals are healthy and thriving. That's our goal. As long as you can get
Right.
that, then the way you keep them is okay. So it's kind of, but then it goes to the question on how do you know an animal is like thriving? Chameleons, I'm assuming it's like colors, they're eating well, keeping weight.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that their colors, they're eating well. Their eyes are bulgy. That's a
Hmm.
pretty good indication. They're not like I'm thinking of all the negatives of what would be a bad chameleon, what would be a bad situation. They're not laying on the ground, you know? Because usually if a chameleon starts heading down towards the bottom, something's going on.
Yeah, I would say with the consulting, those the usually when I'm consulted, it's like when they're too bad. A lot of them are just
Yeah.
like laying there on their side, pale, and usually I can't save them virtually. I always refer in person, but they usually die overnight by the time I
Yep.
by the
I've been there too. But people will message me from TikTok and they'll be like, "What about this one?" And it's like, I really don't want to tell you.
it's tough. It's tough. I just have to, hey, the prognosis is not good. I'm sorry. And I get negative with that too. People are like angry, and I'm like, you can do the best you can, but it's
Right.
nature, you know. It comes
Yeah.
to a point where you can't go back. So, um, unfortunately, but yeah, that's what I see when it's too close when they're on the
They
ground.
don't notice. That's chameleons are hard. You have to pay attention and you have to see the signs. And
Hmm.
sometimes the signs are just the most subtle little thing that nobody would notice. And it's like, I don't know, people just have to pay really close attention to a chameleon.
Yeah. What are like some of those little signs you think are like?
Um, Keeping their eyes closed during the day.
Okay.
That would be one of the bigger ones. That would be a pretty good sign. Lack of appetite.
Hmm.
Um, Lack of movement.
Hmm.
Trying to think of all the things that there could be. Whenever I get off here, I'll be like, there was 27 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, the eyes is a thing too, yeah, and people just it's hard for people to pay, I guess, close attention. I see that too. They'll be like, "Well, I've been keeping him this way for" I'm talking about reptiles in general. "I've been keeping him
Right.
this way for so long, and he's been fine." I'm like, "Well, a lot of this is subclinical or you can't see it, like, they're not
Right.
showing overt signs. It's kind of very you gotta, just small kinda signs over time." People don't quite understand that.
Yeah, that's kind of like I was saying about Jackson chameleons earlier. People all the time are like, well, I haven't had any issues. Well, it's going to be a really, really slow progression, and you're probably not going to see the issue right off the bat. And
Mhm.
then when you do see it, it's way too late.
Yeah. Yeah, and people get frustrated with me all the time when I tell them that. They're like, "Oh, it's been fine the whole time. I've been keeping it this way." It's usually the turtles. I see a lot of issues with the turtles on how they're people don't give them, like, the vegetables, and then they develop, like, the real massive swollen eyes.
Mm,
Um, yeah, they, like it's so creepy, like, I see a picture after this too, but yeah, they get the bulge eyes from, like, low vitamin A from not having enough vegetables in the diet, and or respiratory stuff is pretty common too, I've seen.
I think that's
Um,
common with all reptiles.
yeah, just incorrect temps. and things like that. They won't put a heater in the water or like even have a basking light, just like at room temp. Um, is where I see kind of a lot of them. So I think it's like the big thing is just having education. So I do think doing shows is like important to, you know, obviously tell people like how to keep them, but then what you're doing on TikTok is uh helping as well to just educating people
Yeah.
how to
Yeah,
keep.
that was part of why we did that, was the education and just to show people where their animals would come from if they were interested in one of my animals. Because
Mhm.
I do think that a lot of people don't show off their room and you just have no idea where they're coming from. I had a guy actually send me a video today. He was at a show and a guy had several trees up on the table and there was like 6 panther chameleons all bunched together in these trees. And it's like you're setting a bad example for people who want to buy these chameleons. They're going to think that it's acceptable to cohabitate them. And they're also going to think that these male chameleons are always this vibrant, when in all actuality, they're really ticked off because they're directly next to another male.
Mhm. 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 That makes sense. It's hard. I guess you could just do the best you can as your own breeder because you obviously can't control what everybody else is doing, especially when, it's at another show or something like that, and
Right.
kind of being the best example. It's what I've kind of at least taken my mind to. 'Cause show is hard. Like if, I don't know, like it's like yes, I'm there to like sell, obviously, but I have to have a different mindset. I think is to more educate people, and if I can kind of get my mind wrapped about that, and not worry about like if I sell any or if I sell however
Right.
many.
It doesn't
Um,
bother me not to sell any.
okay, I need to take a a chapter from you because
Well,
I get frustrated.
I had a show where I could have sold 2 one time, and I refused because one person wanted to use the chameleon as an emotional support chameleon for his class. And basically, what he does is he hands them around and lets the kids pet him. And I was like, "Nee." And the other one, I always go over husbandry first. We had worked out a deal, and I was like, "So, what kind of enclosure do you have?" And he's like, "Oh, I have this 10-gallon glass tank at home." I was like, "No." So, I could make the sales, but I'm not gonna sell my chameleons to people that aren't prepared yet for them or think that they can be just passed around a class as a toy, because they're not gonna like that.
Mhm. 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 That's a really good way to look at it too, and I think important as we sell these animals to ask those questions too, and not just be like somebody be like, "Oh, I want this," and then you're just like, "All right,
Right,
how do you want to pay?" I have to kind of get myself in that kind of mindset too. Usually, they already have a leopard gecko at home. I don't sort
right.
of question them as much, um, but yeah, if this is their first one, I do try to ask.
Yeah, well, new to us this year, we're actually selling chameleon kits at the shows. So we're gonna bring the right size enclosure, and it'll have everything they need. It'll have the right calcium, it'll have the vitamin A, it'll have the basking bulb, the right UVB. It won't have plants. I shouldn't have said everything. It won't have plants. It's the only thing it won't come with.
Mhm.
Um, but I'm pretty excited to actually be able to offer that to people. That way, if they really truly want it in that moment, they'll have everything they need, and I'll be comfortable with the chameleon going home with them at that point.
Yeah, that's a really smart idea. And for the plants, you could probably just give them like a list and they can just go to like their local
I
Lowe's or something.
I actually keep lists back here,
Oh, cool. Yeah.
so
You can just
I do hand them out.
okay. You can do that. I mean, I print off care guides sometimes for mine, so you could probably even
Yeah,
just print off like the Chameleon Academy ones. Or do you have your own care guide or
I have my own care guide. I do think I use his plant list, I believe.
he has a great plant list and great visuals on how the enclosure should look like from a coverage standpoint.
Yeah.
Um,
No, he
'Cause
has great videos. I would recommend people go to him anytime. Absolutely. And he's a really reasonable guy. I've had issues and I've even reached out to him before and been like, "Hey, can you help me with this?" And he's like, "Sure."
that's awesome to have people like that. You find that the chameleon I don't say industry, but like that kind of niche within the reptile industry is pretty welcoming and open, or is it pretty like hush hush with info? Like, have you had mentors you've kind of learned
I think
from?
it's pretty open. Yeah. There's not as many of us,
Hmm.
so that's always a plus. I sat in on a lot of Bill Strand's lives in the beginning, and that's what helped me. Jonathan Hill, of course, always recommends. Sorry, he's Jonathan Hill's iProdalis. Sometimes when I talk chameleons, I
Oh, okay.
forget people don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
He recommends that people do the individual raising, and we kind of took a page out of his book and tried it. And I'm glad we did because we've had, pretty good success with keeping the babies alive. And then Brian Long, he used to have long shot chameleons. He's an amazing guy. If I wanted to reach out to him right now, he'd probably respond. He's always been very available to answer my questions.
Okay, awesome. So that's awesome to say. That's the way the people in the chat can kind of go and reach out to them or check them
Yeah,
out, kind of learn from them. Because I think it like important to have those kind of pioneers in the industry, if you kind of will, to kind of learn from initially to kind of understand
yeah,
the basics. Just because there is so much misinformation
absolutely.
online. It's hard. I mean, I'm trained to think of things analytically and to sift through lots amount of information, but you can't assume or even think that anybody could um, do that sort of thing on their own, be able to look through all the information and make judgments on is this right or not, or
Yeah.
things like that. So,
Since you're an analytical person, I would suggest when you get off here that you follow iProdalis because
okay,
he's a very analytical person as well. And he's all about the numbers and the science of everything.
okay, I will definitely give him a follow since that's kind of right up my alley. We're coming up to an hour and a half, and that's where I kind of like to keep things. It's going by super quick. So if anybody in the chat has sort of questions relating to what we've talked about, put them in the chat. We can talk about them. Um, anything else with the Panthers? There's such a variety of colors, and are they localities? Is that how
Yes.
you would say that? So they're
Yep.
locality species. Okay. Um, and people don't when they breed them, they breed within the locality. Is it looked down upon to breed different localities, or I don't know, I have no
It
idea.
it can be looked down on to breed what's considered a hybrid chameleon, and I actually do that.
Hmm.
Um, Not all the time, but I have bred hybrid chameleons in the past. So I have a male that's 50% nosy bay and 50% ambelobe.
Hmm.
Um, I did breed him to a full ambelobe female, so they would have been 25% nosy bay, 75% ambelobe. Um, it can be looked down on. Some people, like Jonathan Hill that I was talking about earlier, I think he prefers to selectively breed, is his words. And I
Mhm.
understand that, and it makes sense. I completely get why people would do something like that. Like his niche is the yellow body blue bar. That's his thing. So I get it, but I have a soft spot for the blue and the nosy bay chameleons.
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever seen a nosy bay, but
I think I've
they're
seen like that really rich dark blue
yeah.
coloration. I could probably bring up your let me bring up your Instagram too. Could probably look at them.
Yeah, the one that just passed was a nosy.
Okay. See if we got some. Not one of
So
these.
those there, the top those two, that is a he's 75% ambelobe and 25% nosy bay. That's why he has the blues.
Okay. And what was your kind of was it just to kind of see what colors would come up, or what was like the driving factor to do that pairing?
His dad's my favorite.
Okay. Okay. That's a good answer. I was just curious. Okay, is this and this is a nosy bay or no?
Yes.
Oh, this is the guy who yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah, that really rich kind of bluey, turquoisey coloration. That's like my favorite color.
Yeah, they've got an awesome color. There's some great people that breed nosies out there. I
Which
would
one again
love
is
to be able to breed a ton of different things. It's just I don't have the space.
well, when they give like so many clutches like that,
Yeah.
yeah, it'd make it really difficult. I would think. I also like the really which like what kind is this kind?
So that's Solar Octane. That was my holdback. The one I had told you about that just kind of gave
Yep.
me the different yellows and oranges. He is a
Yep.
hybrid as well.
Okay. Wow, that is stunning.
He's cool. He's very diverse.
He's super cool. This guy too. Frank. Yeah, look how crazy like they change from the colors. And I can see where you kind of can start to tell with the coloring.
He's gonna have babies next year.
Okay. Okay. How old is he at this stage?
I want to say 7 or 8 months.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm just kind of flipping through. See if I can.
He's a couple years old now.
Whoa, what kind is this kind?
That's a carpet chameleon.
This is a carpet chameleon. Huh.
Yep,
They look smaller than the panthers, or is it just kind of
they're
the
very
image?
small. Can't tell which one that is. I think that one weighs 20 grams
Hmm.
as an adult.
Okay, and then how much did the panthers weigh?
So like Solar Octane, for instance, the one that you were interested in, he weighs 130 grams.
Oh wow. Okay. So big difference in the size.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's Journey right there, my rescue.
This one or this one?
That one.
This one where I got my. Yeah, we can pull her up too just to. Oh yeah, look at that.
And that's sad.
Very sad. I had a very sad leopard gecko case the last week. That it was a consult, and it was oh, when they people came in, they said it was non-responsive 30 minutes ago. But when I got the picture, it was just severely malnourished. The front little arms were rubber, just like this, rubber and kind of hooked in like that. So malnourished that you could see the imprints of the skull on the head, just from where all the nutrients was sucked out of.
When
Uh,
we get off here, I'm gonna have to send you the other one that was sent to me at the same time she was.
mm,
I turned it down because it was just that bad.
really,
Hmm.
makes me so sad.
He
Yeah, I
couldn't
was
even walk.
couldn't even walk. Huh. Oh, this is a cool one too, this orange one.
Ah,
Oh, nighttime. So they do get a little bit of a different color at night.
yeah.
Oh, interesting. Still really pretty though.
It's called their pajamas.
Pajamas. That's cute. Yeah, it makes me so sad with the ones that are so malnourished. I get frustrated, but the best thing we can do is just kind of educate me. When I got that photo, they told me, they're like, "Oh, this just happened 30 minutes ago." I'm like, "I know for a fact, just looking
Right?
at the photo, this was not over 30 minutes. This was like countless months of neglect."
Hmm.
Because at least with the leopards, like my cats in the beginning were real good at opening those tubs, and one had gotten out, and we lost it for like I think it was like a couple months, and I found it under my fridge finally when we were just like moving stuff around. We found it. It was still alive. It was kind of a dull color and a little on the thin side, but the thing bounced back and ended up being a holdback as it turned out. And I held on to him longer to make sure he was like healthy, and he ended up being like super pretty. So like paid off, but I was like to see some of these, I'm like that happened in 2 months. I don't know what you'd have to do to get him looking like
Yeah.
that because this guy didn't for 2 months bounce back within like a couple weeks once he got some hydration and food. And I don't know how they live. I don't even know how he lived that long, but
Yeah. It's crazy how they come in. And then I think they said the same thing about Journey. I think they said it happened in like 2 weeks. I was like, that did not happen in 2 weeks. There's
Yeah,
no way.
there's no way. And I don't know if people just don't have like the detail to like see those changes, or they just feel like they can't do anything until it gets so bad. I don't understand the thought process, but
So she actually came from a Petco.
really,
They called me to come get her, yeah.
really, at
And I've
that,
actually went in their store with a UVB meter and told them that their lights aren't good. Because she's actually the second one I've got from that store.
and the second one, okay. So the first one, they obviously didn't change it then, it sounds like, if they had a second one. Hmm. 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 Yeah, the Petco and the PetSmart frustrates me out the no end. I hate going in there because I hate seeing them, but I need to buy dog food and what else.
Right.
And of course I
They
stop by the Reptiles, but
they
to
need
look.
to require that every store has a UVB meter. They said they will not pay for it. The store won't pay for it. It's like, that's $250. Because the store that I got her from, they said that they had lost, I think she said 20 bearded dragons as well.
Holy cow.
$250 for a meter, 20 bearded dragons. I mean,
Yeah,
spend $250 for a meter.
yeah. And their prices like are kind of I don't know, the ones in me are kind of like hit or miss. Leopard geckos, they sell them for like 20, $30. And I'm like, "Ugh, whatever." But some of the other animals are like kind of expensive. Like the ball python, they'll have like, I don't know, a banana and charge like $400 or $500 for it or
Unless
something.
it
Like,
says premium.
the
Or no,
premium.
fancy. That's what it is.
Oh,
Fancy ball
fancy.
python.
Oh, yeah, that's what they label it, is the fancy. The same thing with leopard gecko too. They have the regular for like $30 and then like the fancy for like $49.99 or something like
Yeah.
that.
We had a
And
premium Panther chameleon here, so they charged $200 more for it. I'm like, what's special about it? And they're like, well, it's a premium.
yeah, you ask them, they're like, I don't know. Like I had at shows, a lot of people will come up and they'll show me like a picture of the leopard gecko and be like, what morph is this? I got it from PetSmart or Petco. And like with the leopards, there is absolutely no way you can tell what genes are in it. You have to know the parents and lineage. You can't just look. I can tell if it's an albino or maybe it's like a tang. You know, a lot of the leopards, there are a lot of line breeding. So, but as far as the albino, there's no way you could tell, and they don't quite understand.
Yeah.
Understand. You have to like breed it out to know what's in it. Um, so yeah, the PetSmart, the Petco thing is just, I don't even know what to really do to fix that at all besides just educate people.
I don't know. I go on tangents on TikTok here and there and try to like with that video, I made that video to bring awareness. It might have brought awareness to a couple hundred people, but it needs to be large scale, not a couple hundred people. It needs to be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people need to see it.
Yeah. And if we can somehow get people to think of that the way they think of like puppy mills, right? Because I think people
Right.
now understand the puppy mills, and the reptiles is the same thing. They're coming I think they're coming from these large scale
Yeah.
productions that could maybe be thought of as a puppy mill if they're not. I can't
Yeah.
obviously say that. I've never been one. I don't know, but just hearing and seeing what the animals look like,
Even
you
though
know.
I'm not like big into YouTube, I have seen YouTube videos of facilities where they're popping them out like crazy, and then like with chameleons, shoving them all in one container, growing them up, shipping them out to stores.
Yeah.
They're not healthy from the beginning.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say that's kind of like a mill situation. So if we can somehow educate people to look at them like that, and I think it's kind of getting there. A lot of questions kind of come up when I vend, and my animals are not the price of what you would pay at PetSmart. And so the question comes up, they're like, why should I pay, X amount for yours when I can go to PetSmart 5 minutes down the road and get one for fraction of the price? And I don't know if it's like a cultural thing where we want the cheapest thing possible and not look at quality. Someone in my lab's from China, and we talked about this last week, interestingly enough, how the cultures are a little bit, I don't know what your thought is. I don't know. Maybe, I don't know.
On
Thinking of
what?
Sorry. I'm gonna just like understanding that for quality, it comes at like a price.
Oh, yeah. So my price is pretty competitive with Petco, honestly.
Okay.
I'm in the same ballpark as them.
Okay.
But with me, you're gonna get my care, not only my care, but you're gonna be able to reach out to me at any given point, and I'm gonna respond to you and tell you what's up. I had a girl just last week. She bought a chameleon from me over a year ago, and she messaged me, "Hey, I hate to bother you." And it's like, you're never a bother. You have what I consider to be one of my children,
Mhm.
and I'll help you anytime. You can reach out to me in 5 years. I'm still going to help you. You can have somebody else's chameleon. I'm still going to help you.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, I think that's part of it too, and helping. That's cool that it's competitive with PetSmart and Petco too. So, yeah. Hmm. And getting there and yeah, just so kind of educating people and having them see that, just like the difference and with consulting, unfortunately, like a lot of those pets are sick and having to kind of deal with that conversation is frustrating too, that they can't take it back or the store won't take it back or
Right.
like as a vet, like I'm pretty sure they have vets there, but for some reason the store won't receive them back or something like that. I don't quite understand, but
Ours don't have veterinarians in them.
okay.
We're pretty rural here, though. So we have a local vet. That's the one I told you about earlier that has limited reptile training, is the way I guess I would word it. I don't mean it rude. That sounds rude, but
Oh no, all vets coming out of school, we have limited. That's just part of it. We have to specialize. We have to go into residency and an internship and actually specialize in it. So
yeah.
not rude at
I
all. But
mean, one time I took a chameleon in there and there was a vet tech there, and it was my first time actually. I said, "Do you guys see chameleons a lot?" And the vet tech said, "No, we usually get a lot of the green ones with the horns." And she did it like that. And I was like, "Oh, okay. You don't even know what they're called."
yep, yep. And I don't know if it's because I mean, this is the world we live in, so we live it day in, day out, but from like a standard population, not as many people have them relatively like a dog or cat. Um,
Yeah.
essentially, that's probably, yeah, for us it's like how do you not know? But yeah, a lot of people don't have them um relative to the population. But yeah, I think it's important just to try to find a specialized vet, but it's hard because not every place that's like it's not every place is going to have it. You may have to drive a while to find one.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
like we use her for like basic things, but if
Mhm.
it's something a little more serious, we're gonna go to St. Louis.
Okay. Okay. Yep. That's good that you have like that bigger metropolitan area
Yeah.
that has that has specialized vets there. There's a pretty good one. I think it's Wildcat Creek. I don't know. I have to look at the name later, but it's kind of the St. Louis area. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'll have to look it up. I think they specialize in reptiles too.
Yeah, you'll have to send it to me.
Yeah, I think they had a pretty good one. I had a snake that I got that. Well, I bought it and the person didn't tell me it had like enlarged eyes. So as soon as I got it, I was like, oh, I should probably get this looked at because this is not normal. Um, so yeah, had to find a vet close enough for that. So see if there's any questions. This one big box store should be last. Yeah, you would think. You would think, but they're a pretty big corporation, so they just want to make money, unfortunately.
People keep paying them.
Yeah, people keep buying. Yeah, that's a thing too. I think people kind of understood that with the puppy mills is not buying them and kind of starving them out of business. But then people are like, "Oh, I'm saving them," taking them away from that situation.
Yeah.
You're really just kind of feeding the business. So,
Yeah, and that's kind of a common thing in the chameleon world that's said too. People will be like, "Oh, I saved this from a Petco," and which I don't get involved in that because I don't want to, but people will be like, "No, you didn't. You just enabled them to get another one that's going to go through the same thing."
right, right, exactly, exactly. So I don't see any other kind of questions in the chat. Was there anything that you wanted to talk about that I didn't ask or anything like that?
If there was, I'll probably remember it 30 minutes from now.
That's okay. That's okay. I thought it was a great conversation. We kind of talked about um kind of topics stemming out from the main one, but I really wanted to hit on obviously the care
Yeah.
and the breeding part of it because that's what a lot of people in the chat are here for, the as well as pet people too, but just learning how to care for them as pets and the breeding and the part and the babies. But it sounds like it's relatively straightforward with the right pieces in place,
Right. Yeah.
even as the babies. So yeah, I think that's pretty important here. Where do you kind of see your business in the next 5 years?
Hopefully making money.
Don't we all? Don't we all? Yeah, that's something I kind of struggle with, is having like a business mindset, because I come obviously from the animal side and the animal care, but trying to make smarter or better financial decisions. Um,
Yeah, we spent so much money on the setups and the lights, and it's just a constant flowing out and not usually flowing back in.
yep. Or as soon as you get the money, it just goes right into like
Mhm.
either buying a new animal or updating enclosure or something. But that's, I feel like, with a lot of businesses too, for the first, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, it is kind of like that way. Um,
Yeah.
until you kind of get going. But it's a good
I mean,
goal.
just paying to have it set up right from the beginning was the hardest part. I understand why people tub raise now just because it's so expensive to
Yeah.
do what we've done.
Yeah. Yep. But to do it, the best you can, that's kind of goes back into what the quality stuff, like putting the extra money, or having to pay that up front, and, pay for the quality, or
Yeah.
paying for the best you can, just for the give that animal the best life possible. So those are the decisions you have to make when you get certain species, I think. So it comes down to making sure, again, those people are the right people are getting the animals that are going to take care of them. Because I struggle with that a lot too. Is I could sell this animal for like $20, and not saying that $20 animals don't deserve care, but I feel like people kind of look at them a little differently if they're only $20, right? They're not going to like put as much care or time and effort. I don't know. That's how I feel sometimes a little bit.
No,
Um,
that's accurate.
yeah, people will be like, "Oh, it's $20, I'm not gonna." When
Right.
I
They
kind of, yeah, go ahead.
they look at it as like a financial decision, and that financial decision, the less they pay for it, the less they care. They don't look at it as an animal sometimes.
Yep, yep. That's just, and these animals, they live for a decently long time, especially like the geckos and the snakes. They live for years and years and years and years. So like that
Right.
upfront cost, like obviously should be, you know, kind of expensive to get in. I don't want to say expensive, but you know what I mean. Like it's a decent amount to kind of get in, because you're going to have this animal for a long time. So has to have some sort of like a setup, obviously, and money that goes into that.
Yeah.
So yeah, awesome, pretty awesome show. How can people like get a hold of you again?
Um, the easiest ways would be Facebook and Instagram. TikTok's their messaging system doesn't work the greatest, so I generally prefer Instagram or Facebook. TNA Chameleons.
Okay. Awesome. Cool. Well, you guys heard it. Definitely reach out if you have questions. Follow her on Instagram and TikTok. Watch the chores. Super informational. It's a great time. I have to type. Sometimes I'm driving. Sometimes I like listening to a lot of things, so I have it kind of going on sometimes in the background, just to have something to kind of listen to and look at.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks so much. I'll kind of take you off screen here. Just follow up real shortly afterwards, and go from there. Thank you so much for your time tonight.
All
Okay.
right. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Ashley. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tapping in. We had quite a crowd here, so thanks for coming out and being involved, and thanks for Ashley for her time. So we will see you back here next week. Reach out if you got any questions or anything like that. And I hope you all have a wonderful week.